Welcome back to the Talos of Tech podcast, ladies and gentlemen. So, as we were just starting to record, this is our second take. Just
Take
being
two.
Completely honest with
Take
you.
two.
My AirPods Pro are acting up, and now the right bud is playing an ultra low but very loud frequency. Just on the right one, not the left. And it sounds like, when someone drives by the neighborhood with their subwoofer blaring, except constantly. And I can't turn it down. It didn't matter if I was on noise cancellation or transparency, it was making the sound. So I've switched back to good old-fashioned Talos of Tech engraved AirPods 2. And Old Faithful is still working for me, so that's good. And I think we're good to go. How are you guys?
Randy, it's been a while. What's up with you?
It's been a while. Every time.
We got you out of Mike's body, thank goodness.
And then we got
a little
the
bit of
technical
work.
difficulties from the week before that. And then we got... No, that was 2 weeks ago. It's been a while. I just looked at the... I haven't been here since October, my goodness. Since February 4th is when we recorded.
Wow.
Or so
Dang.
February 5th, I think, is when... Yeah, it's almost... That was weird. That was a weird thing. But, and you know what's sad? Even in all that absence, there's nothing to report.
Very little, yeah. I mean, close to nothing with Apple, I would say. We might be looking at an event announcement next week.
Right.
Possibly. But it's for the most boring event of all time.
It might go in Nick's favor if he's so jazzed about having the touch bar.
Yeah,
Ooh.
but I would.
But he's...
Yes, as
Go
much
ahead.
as I'm jazzed about the touch bar, and I love that thing to death, I would appreciate a new display as well. Like one of the really nice, nitty, hertzy displays that just knits and hurts its way
He
all
wants it so
over
bad,
my mind.
it hurts.
Okay, you get mad at me when I make those jokes. But you can...
That was bad,
Well,
though.
no one
Yours
here's
was
a dad,
bad.
so we shouldn't be making dad jokes quite yet.
Hey, you don't know why I was gone for so long.
You weren't gone for 9
Randy's
months.
now a father, by the way. In other news...
In other news, there is
I guess
no
I could
news.
kick off.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a
No,
good day.
not true.
I'm holding
Ooh.
a little SpaceX obelisk here.
Obelisk.
SpaceX. I love SpaceX. Did you know that?
No,
even
shut
got
up,
the,
Nick. You?
I do. I love SpaceX.
No
He hides
way.
it pretty well. You would never know looking at his Twitter account or merchandise.
Or his head right
Right.
now.
So Starlink sucks.
Damn.
No, I kid. It's probably great for
Other people.
the demographic it's going towards. I'm just discovering I might not be as in that demographic as I originally thought, but I'm at a crossroads because we've got our first, not even 24 hours, we're like 16 hours in with my T-Mobile home internet product, and it's mostly been pretty freaking impressive. The setup was a little clunky, and it crashed like 3 times in a row in the first 10 minutes of use. But I guess people told me online that when it crashes and it says error, you need to restart the machine. That just means it has a firmware update. That's what it displays an error code
So
for. There's
that's
an
what
update.
was going on with yours when it was getting online. It had an update.
Correct. It had an update, but instead of the display saying there's an update, I need to install this before I provide internet to you, it just says error message, unplug and plug back in.
Interesting.
So I guess by doing that, it gives it a minute to download the software and install it. And once it was finally installed and set up correctly, it's been very stable. Speeds actually this morning have been much better than what they were yesterday. Maybe I was getting speeds of a congested period, because this morning I watched it go briefly over 400, but it was able to consistently pull 330 download, which I never got on Starlink. Other people have, but upload, which matters far more to me, is just consistently been much faster. It's averaging between 20 and 30 occasionally hitting 40 and 50. So it's kind of just like Starlink, somewhat volatile, but definitely not dipping to nothing as frequently. And
for a fraction of the price.
This really sucks.
For half the price.
yeah, literally, it's like half the price, and there's no upfront. They haven't charged me yet. I've been using it to post content and live stream and talk to you guys over FaceTime, and I've still not gotten the bill. It's not in the T-Mobile app.
No, you're gonna get it at the end of the billing cycle.
I guess so.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of interesting how much they send you and how much they activate and how much they let you use before they even
you'll get
bill you.
Are you signed up with T-Mobile's SMS notifications?
I don't know. How do you tell?
In the T-Mobile app, you'll set that up. So I have two forms of notifications for me with my T-Mobile bill, both my cell phone and then at the time when I was having the iPad add on to it as well. That I wanted a text message when my billing statement was ready, and then I wanted a secondary text message when the process was verified, because sometimes I would get a push notification pre Apple Pay, because Apple Pay will show me the charge that happens with the Apple Card. I mean,
yeah.
But T-Mobile will sometimes send me a push notification through the app. Sometimes it didn't, but I always got an SMS notification the way you would if you were trying to like sign into your bank or something. So that's how you know if your account is ready. So
I don't see the option, but my account is set up. Like I have, they made me make an ID and everything, and I set my auto pay and Apple Pay features on, which I believe on the Apple Card says I get 3% back.
Yep.
So I'll get $1.50 every time I get charged.
Nice.
For T-Mobile, which is pretty good. Last time we talked about it, Nick, you were mentioning that there was some fine print about throttling.
Yes, I did. I did look into
terminology
that because I also have internet issues. I do have coaxial internet into the house. But that tops out at the best plan. I believe they advertise it as a 400 megabit a second plan, but that's download. And I do get that down, but up it's only ever like 40 megs up on a good day. Typically it's around 20, which is okay. Yeah. But that means that I can only upload about 200 gigabytes in a 24-hour period. And believe you me, I know that number really well. Between 200 and 215 gigabytes is what I can upload in a day, just because I have literally 90 hours of upload stuff in Google Drive that I've tossed up there and seen that little counter up to 90 hours, and it's just, waiting. So yeah, that is a pain point that I've had, and so I was like, why don't I just go ahead and bond the internet and get like either like a second coaxial line, or maybe that T-Mobile thing, or a Starlink or something like that.
Is that complicated? I've never tried that.
I mean, it isn't something I'd want to set my grandma up with, but I could do it.
Does it require like a separate computer, or is it just like an adapter?
Basically, you get a it's a network switch that can bond. It's a bonding switch, and so it's just has typically like 4 or 5 Ethernet ports in, and so you plug all your input Ethernets out, and then you have one bonded internet stream out.
Interesting.
And it kind of you can get some that either are strict like fail-safe over, like where if one of the internet cuts out, it'll switch over to the other one, or you can have a switch where it will bond the two and send traffic over both simultaneously. So I'd get the one that would send traffic over both simultaneously, but those are a little bit more complicated to set up and finicky on your node's end too, because it can get confused on who it's talking to, because it's talking to servers.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially if you were doing one that was over like satellite or over cellular, and one that was over a line. How can a server accept files from 2 different places at the same time?
It just works. TM when it works.
It sounds like Bluetooth hose.
It is about as complicated as it gets, and not guaranteed to work. So it's just one of the finicky things that you got to play with. But that would help me. So I was like, maybe I'll get that T-Mobile thing. And so I looked into that, and they do have fine print in there that says, well, there's no actual hard cap throttling or anything. If you use too much, we'll realize that, and you'll reduce service speed. And so there's no exact number, but I'm curious to hear, Drew, at what point you start noticing some throttling, because I'd imagine you'll get to that point at some point, you know.
He gets to that point.
If
It's good.
If I'm going to intentionally try to hit it within my 15-day window, because I do have 15 days before I can return it and get a full refund. The good news is I can still cancel at any time. It's $50 a month, so if I just decide, oh, this is slow, I don't want it anymore, I just have to send back the terminal because I don't actually own the gateway. And I don't even think there is a way for you to own it outright. That's not an option. I guess if you break it, they'll make you pay for it, but you're just renting the hardware, which I'm not in love with. Starlink, I can cancel at any time, but I own the equipment, so they're not going to get mad about that. Although they probably should have done it the other way, because they could, if I want to cancel, it would be better for them for me to send the hardware back, and then they could send that dish to someone else, right? Wouldn't that be in their best interest?
That's how it is for me using Cox. For me to have the Gigablast, and they send you a specific equipment for it, you don't own it. I'm only paying services for the Gigablast internet, but
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm gonna leave it live streaming stuff in the background when I'm not here, and I have moved all of our smart security cameras and smart speakers and all of our tablets. The Starlink is off, essentially.
You're holding it
because the router's unplugged, so I get to just hold it, which is a cool router. I love this look. The T-Mobile thing is kind of basic, ugly, plasticky, but this is like cool looking. This is something you'd see in the middle of Utah. Just, making a low bass noise like my AirPods Pro, and you can't turn it off. But I have definitely heard mixed things from my audience, because a lot of people had actually used it, and what sucks is there's no in between. I'm getting a bunch of people say, oh, I've been using it for months, and it's great, I love it, and a bunch of people saying it slows way down after a couple months, and they don't do anything about it, and they rope you in with a honeymoon phase where they make the speeds good at first, and then they slow you way down in the future. And the reason I'm torn on that is because with Starlink, if you cancel, you can't resubscribe, which I think is kind of frustrating. I'm curious as to why they made that call, because they spend, at least on the old hardware, I know the new hardware has gone down, but they spend close to $1,000 or $1,500 on just the dish and the router and all of that equipment, and they're at a loss at every customer until that customer has paid for a certain number of months. So if someone wants to cancel, they're even more at a loss because they're not going to recoup that cost. So if they let you pause service, then there would be the potential of, oh, I can resubscribe and actually send you money in the future. Whereas if I cancel now, then I can't really come back until I order a whole new dish, essentially. I don't know what happens to the old dish in their mind or what their plans are for that. But the reason, for anyone curious why we're trying this and why I'm thinking about canceling Starlink, is because unfortunately it was better in the beta, which is kind of how iOS updates work. But throughout all of 2021, it was progressively getting more stable. It was usually, when I first got it a year ago, it was around 3% frame drops in a 1 hour live stream, and at the end of the year it was closer to 1%, sometimes less than 1%, so very stable, and I could stream off of it. But once I got back from Puerto Rico, I don't know what happened, but it was more like 10% frame drops an hour. So I would lower my bit rate. It was at 2,000, which is not very good.
Yeah.
And then I lowered it to 1,000, which is even worse, and it still couldn't even maintain that. It was 8 or 9% frame drops with a 1,000. So I found this OBS setting that I thought would fix most of my problems, because for a couple of days there I was like, okay, I'm getting sick of this whole Starlinking meme. It's kind of funny in the beta period, and okay, Drew's on Starlink, haha. But when I'm trying to live stream and it just keeps happening and it keeps getting worse, it got old for me,
Yeah.
and I'm sure it got old for my audience. So I was like, okay, I want to fix this. And if it's possible to keep Starlink and fix this, I will definitely do it. I just got to figure out what settings. Like, I'm willing to compromise on latency. So I messed around with OBS settings and stream delay because I was hoping maybe if it has more time to recover, the stream will be stable. And they even have this new beta feature now where basically OBS will act the same way FaceTime does. Because I was curious as to why the cutouts weren't that bad over Starlink on FaceTime, but they were a lot worse when streaming to YouTube. And it's because when your internet connection gets weak on a video call like Zoom or Skype, the bit rate goes down with it. So that's what OBS's new feature was doing is, okay, if your internet gets worse, it lowers the bit rate. And then as the internet gets better, the bit rate improves. So I tried that for a little while, and it basically would lower the bit rate to below 100, which essentially results in the bluish, reddish. Remember that MKBHD video when we uploaded the same video? It looks like that. And it would hang there for a few seconds. And then it would take, 30 seconds or so for it to finally get back to normal. And that's how it was handling Starlinking, which I thought was an improvement because I could talk through it. It would preserve my audio. So I was like, okay, as long as you can hear me, I guess that's good. But I was watching the reviews of these home internet things pretty closely, and I wasn't really sold on the first generation because people were having overheating issues, and some people were saying the signal was spotty, and so I wasn't completely sold on it at first. And I'm not really feeling regret because when Starlink became available for me, this was not a thing. T-Mobile home internet launched in like July, at least in my area, it was like July or August of last year. So it wasn't like I could have gone straight from Comcast to T-Mobile. But once the second generation came out and they said this one irons out a lot of the kinks and it doesn't have the overheating issues, I was like, okay, $50 a month. Some people say it's really good. But what was frustrating was no channel out there was live streaming with it. No one was talking about live streaming performance. It was all just, let's run a speed test. Wow, that's fast. I recommend this product. I was like, come on.
I'm Randy Vasquez, and I approve this message.
Yeah. I mean, they would get really into the weeds with the tech specs. They would go into the settings and show how close you are to the antenna, place it in this part of the house, but that was about it. No one was really doing things with it other than
real life
I
usage,
upload my videos
like, especially for a content creator, live stream.
Right.
Look at you.
That's
filling in a gap that's needed. Beautiful.
Well, I'll take the sacrifice by cutting my internet bill in half. I know. I'm so noble. But, yeah, I was very curious just because, well, back when Starlink first came out, my speeds on Mint Mobile were not this fast.
Yeah.
And I actually think I've seen several instances of this in my comments or in live streams. People have said that their LTE speeds have slowed way down and the 5G speeds have improved. So I think that the carriers are kind of just like getting rid of phasing out the LTE so that they can brag about how much better the 5G signal is. But my wife's noticed slower speeds than she used to get. And I used to, at my house, I could turn on LTE and get pretty fast speeds. And now if I turn on LTE, it's way slower. So I think they've just kind of rebranded everything. I'm sure they ran some new wire or something. Oh, it's technically 5G now. So it's like, okay, yeah, but at what cost? No, it's like
everything.
They just got rid of all of the speed that used to be there. Maybe that allows for more capacity now, which is good, I guess. But this is definitely the use case of 5G I can appreciate, because when you have those types of speeds, a desktop, a content creator, a live streamer, they can utilize that. The reason I complain is because they brag about gigabit speeds on smartphones for people watching YouTube videos and browsing Twitter. It's like that's
the only time I cared about having my 5G UC on T-Mobile, and it saved me, was when I was downloading YouTube videos before I took off on an airplane. That saved my butt quite a bit, and I was happy. I was happy to have this fast download speed. I was like, okay, I don't want to, like in that Apple commercial where they're like downloading an album, it goes quick, I'm like, I mean, okay, I guess, but me, where it's like, you know, when you board, you have about a 30-minute window from the moment you board to you're on the runway and you're about to take off. And I'm like, okay, I calculate I'm going to be in the air for this long. So I download videos that, you know, would meet that length, or maybe even a Talos of Tech or EV podcast, maybe plug. So, you know, download.
No, not those.
Not those. But it downloaded them so quick. I was like, oh, this is awesome. I was happy at that. But then after that, I was like, this still feels kind of useless. I'm going to be honest. I don't.
5G is fast, so you're ready to be in a place without 5G.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, this still.
There's not going to be much
this
signal.
still feels not. It's obviously not as refined as LTE, but when it was working, it worked great for that very specific use case. And afterwards, I'm like, well, I kind of wish I didn't have it right now, but it, you know, all right. Hey, you said,
especially when Starlink comes to planes, which Elon is saying might be 6 months to a year or so.
Yeah.
So testing it on
5
planes
years
now. Yeah, 5 years when it actually comes out. We could get much faster Wi-Fi on planes.
Yeah.
Which should get way faster speeds than on the ground, right? Because you know you'll have zero obstructions because you're way in the air. You're technically way closer to the satellite because you're 30,000 feet instead of
technically,
sea level or so. So, and it's on a plane, so they could probably make the dish a lot bigger and more rounded off to make it aerodynamic and stuff. So I wasn't trying to make people imagine Dishy McFlatface just bolted to the top of a 737. It's just on top. Okay, it's ready. Let's go. No, they'll have a nice little dome thing that embeds into the body. But when that happens, the idea of streaming high resolution content, and hopefully, I don't know how SpaceX and those commercial airlines are going to work out the business, but I would imagine Starlink could probably undercut whatever the current internet providers are for the airlines.
I'm
just to make sure that everyone signs on.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what they're using now. It's probably some crazy, expensive, crappy, like there's 2 satellites and all the planes are working off those 2 satellites.
Whatever it is, I could tell you it sucks dramatically.
Yeah, it's not very good. But what I can say after my year of Starlink is that download has been fine. There's been no issues with downloads being spotty. And what made me reconsider this whole Starlink versus T-Mobile stuff was actually they improved their customer support response time quite a bit. Before it was like send an email and hope they find it in a few months. But more recently, I've been able to have like online chats with my account where it's literally just like texting back and forth. And I just say, dude, here's my situation. I'm a full-time, live streamer. I'm doing this all the time. It used to not be this bad. Now it is. What can I do? Like, what can you change my account? I was like, can you make it so that my download is worse, but my upload is better? And I was just, there was this website you can go to where it tells you what ground station you're using. And my ground station was set to like Seattle, Washington. And there's a ground station in San Jose. So I was like,
significantly
I'm
closer.
I'm noticing that all of my signal is being, casted over to Washington, which then has to go to YouTube servers. That's probably not helping with the latency and the reliability.
Yeah.
So can you switch it to San Jose? And their response was basically like, no, that won't fix anything. And they said, on our end, all of your hardware is working perfectly fine. You have no obstructions. Your uptime is good. And, of course, they've dropped the beta terminology. So the conversation I had with this customer support guy was basically, this is within spec. This is working the way it's intended to work. So, and this was on bright, sunny days, 60 degrees out. It was not super cold. It was not super hot. And my only theory is just that SpaceX has ramped up the Starlink terminals really, really fast because, of course, they're trying to get more customers on. It makes sense. I think Elon said they just surpassed 250,000 customers now. And there hasn't been an equal number of satellites deployed to match that. So because there's just more people on the network, they can't maintain upload speed. And it might, I'm no expert in this field, but it might be a fundamental bandwidth limitation of this type of wavelength that goes from low Earth orbit to the ground, and it's good that it can penetrate clouds and rain, and I even got good speeds in hailstorms in the snow. But maybe this wavelength inherently will just never be able to prioritize upload very much because of the way the system was designed, and probably rightfully so. Most people are not live streaming like I am. Most people are watching YouTube, browsing Twitter, playing games, and anytime Elon's talked about Starlink, he always refers to it as you'll be able to do competitive gaming. So for them, their whole logic is just about ping and making it low latency for gameplay so that you could be in the middle of the mountains and still have, a multiplayer game going.
Yeah.
So I'm still rooting for the mission. I'm not like Starlink is doomed, because I know that there's absolutely a ton of people that want faster internet and don't have the T-Mobile option, like our friend Mike, who's going to get his Starlink V2 in a couple weeks, I guess. He just got a confirmation for his order, so we might meet up and do a video about it when that happens. But he's in a place where there is no cellular connection at all, and the only Wi-Fi available is
definitely not T-Mobile.
garbage.
I can confirm the T-Mobile one.
Yeah, every time we go there, there's no signal, and he's on Verizon and he has no signal. So I'm on.
That's how you know it's bad.
The T-Mobile network, right?
That's
it's
how
like
you
no
know.
one gets signal out there, and I fully admit that is a large portion of planet Earth. There's people that don't have good 5G or LTE or Wi-Fi, so Starlink can absolutely cater to them. I'm just in this weird middle ground where I do happen to be somewhat close to a T-Mobile tower. I know exactly where it is, and I know what speeds I get on my phone, and now I'm seeing really good speeds off the home internet thing, and it's just a matter of, will T-Mobile throttle me? and if they do, how much? I chatted with people in the comments, and they were saying in the first couple months it was like 200 down, 40 up, and then a couple months later it was like 90 down, 10 up.
Oh, wow.
So
I don't
that's
know.
obviously a lot worse.
I don't know how much of that I take at face value, because that honeymoon phase you were talking about, if they were intentionally then like manipulating the upload downloads for you, I can see quite easily a type of class action being put up for false advertisement. I tend to believe.
Maybe.
I feel that what might be happening during those times where somebody had good and then not,
Congestion?
You have congestion. You have possibly firmware update. There are many times where I realized I was having severe Cox issues, even while living here now, where I have get it out of your system. Let's go, get it out.
I'm sorry, that
Come
just
on,
caught
Nick.
me off
Let's go.
guard.
Nick is the youngest on the show.
I'm
Could you
sorry.
tell?
I'm sorry.
Could you tell?
Wow.
Okay, go ahead with your adult conversation.
So what about your ED, Randy?
Let me tell you,
We lost all our listeners.
Yeah, they're
Bye.
bye. Sorry.
shortest episode ever.
All right.
Man,
That just caught me off guard, guys. Sorry.
the internet is called
I thought I
Cox.
was thinking it, but I didn't. Yeah.
Say it with
The
me,
internet
Nick. Say it out
is
loud.
Cox.
Let's get it out of our system. Say it out loud, Nick.
Cox. Oh my gosh, guys.
Thanks
I'm
for
going to just
listening.
take a break here. I'll see you guys in a minute. Wow.
Wow,
No, he's
indeed.
been taking pictures of those. Been taking pictures of those starships all the time. I knew
Yep.
something. Was,
Yeah, seeing a starship look a certain has a certain, like, this reminds me of something, and then I'm like, I use Cox. All these
sorry.
months, Nick
This
pents
is
up.
terrible.
Yeah,
I was genuinely interested because he said I wouldn't take that at face value, and I was like, how so?
So I don't take it at. You know what? Yeah, if Nick's gonna laugh, he's gonna laugh. Whatever.
Go ahead.
All right.
But what I've noticed is that there's always different levels of updates that you're going to need to get on your with
Gateway?
with just firmware as a whole. There's even to okay, I'll get to the point first, and then we'll backtrack. You are because you don't own that equipment. At any point you can trade it out. You could swap it out. There's no fees. There's no nothing. Like something's not acting right, or I feel like I'm not getting the speeds I need to get, and they'll swap it out because it's the whole point of them even shifting towards this business model. And I was doing it too with Cox. That they said that they want to be able to service internet more reliably, and they found when people were buying their own routers and modems or 2-in-1s that they were not even close to getting the speeds that was advertised, even when it was working at first, because of the hardware. The hardware is the limitation, not necessarily the cables that are being fed to it. Though sometimes cables need to be updated too. There's a whole thing. It's a whole infrastructure about it. But most problems will come from the hardware itself. And I was told numerous times until I finally all right, I'll try it, and it did work, that when they're able to service their own equipment, the company, the internet provider, assumes the liability at that point. And if they're just giving it to you to rent, then they'll fix it on the back end, swap it out, and if it becomes defective, it's defective. And if it's not, then they'll reissue it to someone else. But all you got to worry about is having reliable connectivity throughout that time. So I'm more, just from my own anecdotal evidence, every time I've experienced some type of clogged download upload speed that was going on, I'd reach out with the company. I was like, this is what's going on. And they said, we're looking on here, and it says that your connectivity is fine. We'll do the
I hate that.
I know. So they'll do like, okay,
our end says it's fine.
Oh.
It's like, oh, okay.
Okay, sorry for wasting my time. So
I must be doing something wrong that's causing all this lag.
I'm the screw up, right? So they're like, all right, we're gonna do an over-air reset. Like, have you tried to before? And I tell them, don't tell me to turn it off and on again. Okay, like don't. I'm a millennial. I work in IT. Don't do this to me. They're like, okay. So I know
my passwords.
Yeah, I know. Yes, we're good. I promise I did everything you're about to ask me. I did do it. So then they'll do their over-the-air diagnostics, and then they'll turn it off and restart it, and then they'll be like, all right, well, you should try it now. And bypassing all of that, they'll just, the next business day, most of the time, they'll send someone out, or you can go take it in to the closest retailer, and they'll swap out the box for you, plug it back in, and it's fine. And once I stopped being so stubborn and I actually did it, I've maintained my basically 1,000 down, 500 up type of speeds, and that's over Wi-Fi. So it's obviously significantly a little bit lower because of Wi-Fi, but I have not experienced any issues. I was not a believer of the whole renting their equipment thing, and
I've never liked that.
I didn't like it, but then moving out here and I had to, I'm a believer, and this is just with Cox. So now I'd be more than happy to try it with T-Mobile, but I feel spoiled and I want the fiber. I want T-Mobile home internet fiber. I want that one, but it's only in New York City right now. So I'll wait.
I should have tried it when I was there. Dang it.
Yeah.
See who had it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just a little bit worried because I know I can't go back to Starlink if I
That's fair.
leave it. At least in a quick fashion. If I put in a new order, it's going to take like a year or 2 years to get a hold of it. So I've loved covering updates for it and letting people know how it's been holding and how it's been doing. But I'm actually grateful because it now sounds like Mike might be able to do that for us, because he'll be on Starlink and he can tell us how it's doing because he needs it. And actually, one of my plans when I was thinking, okay, if I get the T-Mobile home internet thing and it really works and it's very stable, as much as I love SpaceX and I would love to just send them $100 a month out of the kind nature of my bank account, it would feel weird to hold on to this hardware when I know that there's so many people waiting to appreciate the network and appreciate the dish. So Mike was the closest one geographically to me, so I was like, well, maybe I'd give it to Mike because he really needs it. His internet is way worse than Starlink or T-Mobile, and he doesn't have any other option. So I was talking to him about it briefly on the last show, but then, of course, perfect timing, SpaceX saw the episode, I think, and they were like, Mike, your Starlink is ready. So they send him the confirmation, and he'll be getting his soon. But so my next thought was Nick, because Nick is obviously around all the SpaceX stuff, and he has, I think you have more than one Starlink order, don't you?
Oh, personally, yeah, I have just one ordered personally.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You're thinking of Cybertrucks.
Yeah, Cybertrucks, I have lots of those.
Yeah. Several reservations. Did you get FSD with your Starlink? Lock in your price as it increases over time.
Otherwise, you have to manually go up there and point dishy.
But the next challenge is going to be getting it to you, because it is a big box and it is kind of a heavy system.
I'm still a big fan of hand delivery, Drew. You know.
How does that work?
It honestly might be cheaper to find a really cheap flight, get a nice big extra check bag, come out here for the weekend, hang out, have some fun, and then go home, than giving it to UPS. Just saying.
Do you have like a bed?
A bed.
Can we sleep somewhere? Or do we need to get a hotel?
No, I have a bed.
Because I'm not against traveling.
I have a bed. I mean, you're welcome to
Just
sleep in it too.
It's gonna be very tight.
No. We have a guest mattress, and we get some air mattresses too.
Okay, so I wouldn't need a hotel.
No,
that helps. See, we're gonna figure out all the details.
You would need a
live,
car,
so
because I can come pick you up. So
we're gonna figure out the dates. I'm gonna read you off my
credit card number. I just need your credit card number. We can make this happen.
Can I get your mailing address? What your mother's maiden name? Hang on. All right, I'm ready.
Because full transparency, I mean, it is much cheaper for us to just cancel and have a nice roof ornament. But I haven't looked at flights or that kind of thing, so I'm not sure how much this whole
He's gonna put the star dish on the top of his Christmas tree.
That would be a cool tree topper. And you can do like Christmas mode.
Star.
You can do like Christmas mode where it spins around and flips around.
With the Transvariance orchestra.
So we don't have dates or anything figured out yet, but
or you can mail it. I mean,
the billing cycle.
Mail it.
What do you think it would cost?
A lot. Probably $150 would be my guess to mail that thing.
So you think it would be cheaper to fly out?
Honestly, it might be close. Like, you know,
really close.
It might be like twice as much.
You just want to meet up.
I just want you to come down and see the rockets. That's all I want. I mean,
well, I'd like to.
It's just a big ploy to
I've
get
just
you
been
down.
flying a lot
see his
lately,
rocket,
so I'm
Drew.
I do want you to come see my rocket. Randy can go have you. Randy can show you his.
And
cocks
then you can come see
anytime,
my
but-
cocks.
Your rocket's at the Brownsville airport, right?
My rocket
you're
will
the
be
sole-
at the Brownsville airport. None thanks to me. So, you know, everyone who sees it at the Brownsville airport can just thank me.
Can you explain that bottle is perfectly placed? Can you explain that backstory for everyone?
Oh, sure.
Like, what happened on Twitter? Nick put a rocket in an airport.
I put a rocket in an airport last week. No, I wish it was that cool. I tweeted a picture and it got some traction or whatever, and I think Elon liked that one. But really, the kicker was one of my friends, Gene, retweeted it with a comment and said, "Wouldn't it be nice if we had these rockets at other places, not just Starbase, kind of in Brownsville or South Padre Island?" And then Elon replied to that and said, "Yeah, sure." And then, like, the city of Brownsville and the city of South Padre Island were like, and Elon was like, "Yeah, we're serious. Just tell us where to send it. We'll send you one." And evidently they're going to send him one. So we might have a Starship prototype sitting at the Brownsville airport. If I didn't make that tweet, then none of this would have happened. So it is my fault. Sorry, guys.
No, I don't think it would. They're going to have a big plaque of your name.
It's just going to be, actually, we're going to spray paint it on the top of going up the rocket, just Nick.
I will. I want to make a point to seeing that rocket just because of that tweet thread now. I need to land in that airport.
Yeah.
I want to.
It'd be kind of funny if they
Nick did that.
Did a full stack with like a booster and a Starship on top at the airport, because then when you're on final, like coming into land, you're just looking out your window and you're like teeny tiny little Brownsville, and then just a grid fin flies by, and you're just
Giant.
like, what the heck was that? And you look up, and it's like a starship. You're like, whoa.
It's just a giant building out there. So that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I do genuinely think, the response from the Starlink rep was basically like, uptime will improve as more satellites are deployed. But, we've had lots of satellites deploy, like even while we were recording. They had a launch and landing.
Yep.
Just now. And we've had more satellites deploy since I've been on the beta, and I haven't seen, the drop frame problem go away. If anything, it's gotten worse. So my thought process is maybe Starlink would become live streamable consistently if Starship was operational.
Yes.
And they were actually able to deploy
The full
hundreds at a time
this space
instead of 50. Yeah. I'm afraid Starlink will be quite operational. No, that's me. It's like, I'm afraid T-Mobile home internet will be quite operational when Starship is active.
I'm afraid it will be quite operational. Oh my gosh, that's perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah.
I'm afraid your friends are doomed.
If the speeds were a toss-up and they were neck and neck, I would be willing to pay twice the price just because it's Starlink, honestly. Just because I love SpaceX, and my interactions with this T-Mobile ordering process was not fun. It was not easy, and it was honestly quite annoying how long it took to just order the dang thing. Because they don't have just a website that's like, put in your address, order now. That's not it. That's what Starlink was, but with T-Mobile, it's like, chat in with us or make a phone call, and then I chat in with them, and they have to ask you like 15 random questions. Who is your last provider? It's like, I don't want to talk about this. Like, can we just order the thing? And he was like, no, I need to complete this form in order to send it to you. And they had to do a credit check.
Oh, really?
Which I thought was weird.
Huh.
Soft pull?
You're worried
$50 a month.
you're worried you're not gonna be able to make your $50 a month payment?
You're like, we want to make sure. So yeah, they asked for the social, they asked for driver's license and all that. It was really invasive. And I asked him, I was like, why do you need this? I've never had to provide
It came with a cavity
credit
check.
check. And
Ooh.
they
Yeah,
had to
my
send
dentist
someone to
gave
my
me a
house
cavity
and
check the
slept
other
with
time
me.
I was there and didn't find any.
You have to do the TSA thing.
Yeah.
And no, they ask you, and then they like ridicule questions that made me feel stupid. They were like, what do you use your internet for? And I was like,
Stuff.
I'm a YouTuber.
no. They were like, how many devices do you have on your network?
All of them.
How many people are at your house?
See, I would
So I kept
just
saying,
answer
like,
those
500.
I would just answer those questions totally randomly. Be like, all of the devices. No, sir. How many? No, all of them. I intend on using this.
All of them.
I intend on giving this password away for free to anyone who wants it, and anyone in the world can use this little T-Mobile thingy. I'm just like, oh.
We were trying to watch a show. I was trying to get it over with as fast as possible. So I was just like speed run answering everything.
What do you use the internet for? Pirate Bay. I'm downloading porn. I mean, what?
I hack an SA
how can I make you
website,
uncomfortable so we can stop this?
And they're like, oh, you're a content creator.
like
you
I-
upload stuff? What do you upload? And you're like, not YouTube videos.
I'm a cam boy.
I told him I'm a full-time live streamer. I was like, I'm constantly live streaming. I need very fast upload to be stable all the time. I use 5 terabytes a month. And, the customer support agent was like, awesome. Sounds great. Then he tried to upsell me. He was like, so we have a $60 a month option that grants you a Bluetooth speaker and a mobile hotspot with 2 gigs of data a month. And I was like, I don't care. You said $50 on the website. And he was like, okay, and just for you, I'll waive the $35 sign-up fee. And I was like, the website said no additional fees. They said no strings attached. It said home internet with no BS. There's
I'm
BS,
smelling
T-Mobile.
some BS.
It's all there. Why would you advertise no fees and then have the customer service guy brag about how he's waiving a fee? Like,
Because it's all part of the production. It's all theatrical. It's the same
This
reason.
is as unstable as Starlink was. This is something I really liked about Starlink was it was just so simple. It was so
Because they talk to you like an
streamlined. It was
adult.
just like, this is the product. You will buy product. Now pay product monthly. Okay, you have paid product. The service is now...
You can have whatever you want as long as it's black. Mm.
Right, exactly. They're very take it or leave it. The whole account portal is a single page, and on the front page there's a button that says cancel service, and that's all it takes. You don't have to call anyone. I'm sure if I want to cancel T-Mobile, it's going to be a 4-day process of, we'll think about it, and, fighting with collection agents, just like Comcast.
They have to run a credit check for you to cancel your T-Mobile.
I'm sorry, sir. Your
Let's see if
credit's
you can
too low to
afford this
cancel
stuff.
this.
And then they'll say, why are you leaving, and who are you switching to, and,
Yep.
None of your beeswax.
Like, I don't want to tell you.
It was so frustrating. So I hate that the service itself is, decent, because it means I got to put up with all the baloney. I got to have 2 apps. One app for maintenance and one app for billing. And it's... At least it tells me how much data I've used. Starlink didn't do that, but... it doesn't tell me, uptime or, current usage. It just says, how many devices are connected, and that's it. So I'm intentionally doing a bunch of stream tests to just try to use up as much data as possible, because I want to get that throttling speed. I want to see what happens when it's throttled, because honestly, even if the upload does go down to 10 instead of 20 or 30, as long as it's stable, that's frankly all that matters, because Starlink has upload gone down to 10 or 15 on average. It's not as fast as it used to be. And I can upload videos with that. It's not ideal, obviously. Faster would be nice, but I don't want to go back to Comcast because they're 3 times the price and they treat you like garbage. So I don't consider that an option, really. And I'm willing to put up with a little bit of spottiness if the price is good, and as long as it's stable, I guess, is really all I'm asking. Is just can the signal stay connected, even if it's slow, just as long as it's active. That's all I'm hoping for. So I'm hoping I'm not making a mistake, but
I'm sure you are.
Time will tell.
But
well,
I could get a
at the end
Starlink
of the day,
out of it. So
if you're gonna have
keep going.
If you're gonna have crappy internet with Starlink and crappy internet with T-Mobile, if it's still gonna be crappy, you might as well save $50 while you're at it.
That is a good point.
Neither is that crappy. It's really just bad for me as a live streamer. If you were just a normal consumer, yeah, Starlink's fine. There's no issues with uploading videos, even sending texts, even video calls were fine on Starlink. They were occasionally spotty, but not really a deal breaker in my opinion. It's like me and Mike talked over Starlink for several hours. Oh yeah, Randy, the last time I saw you, we talked after the podcast for an hour and a half. That was all over Starlink, and it was you could carry a conversation. It was occasionally a little pixelated, but it was not like, oh, I can't do this, it's unusable.
Yeah.
So if you're not a live streamer, it's fine. The download's good. The ping was improving. You could probably do online gaming with it with occasional little ping spikes, but for the most part, you'd be fine. And same thing with T-Mobile, I'm sure. It scares me when there's other people in the comments and stuff saying, I canceled mine or mine got really bad after 6 months or so. But they're also using older hardware. The hardware I'm using
location
is
matters
like a couple months
too
old.
about where they're at. You know where your T-Mobile tower is at. There's many variables. It's good to receive the critiques and the negative feedback on a service, just so you know it's because nothing's 100% optimized for anything all the time. It's good to see it, but it's better to have information like that as opposed to saying the box caught fire or something. You know what I mean? Like something that's like, that could affect me. So, or T-Mobile is unresponsive. Anyway,
the box caught fire.
We just
oh boy.
Right.
So Apple news.
Nick.
Yes.
Go ahead, Nick.
There is none.
Oh, okay.
Does
I was
your
like,
roommate
well, you
have,
brought it up.
Does
You
your
gotta
roommate have
something.
pants on, Nick? It's. I love it.
It just looks like he's in an office space. You know, there's people
Mhm.
moving behind the scenes. People got to go places. But I'm more interested to see if you want to talk about Apple, we can. I know we've been on the internet.
Yeah. What
situation
if
the
Apple
whole
made their
time,
own
but
Starlink competitor? Yay!
No.
That would be interesting. How about
It would be overpriced and slow.
That's true. At-home cellular beacons that use all the networks, but they're branded by Apple, and it's all
I'm
through Apple. not
depressed
the
to
Apple
talk
card.
about this because I feel like I've been talking about this since 2016, and it still hasn't happened.
Not for the phone though, just for home internet.
Yeah, but still, I'm depressed to talk about Apple doing their own MVNO with all the other networks because it would make so much sense, but they don't. And they haven't, and they've had Apple opportunity to. They could have been the first to launch nationwide 5G, combining the 5GE of AT&T and the kind of 5G of Verizon and the really 5G of T-Mobile,
5G.
all into one 5G Plus Pro Max, and then selling that to us at an extended markup. But they didn't, so they won't.
Yeah. Are you? If they launch an M1 Pro or M1 Max Mac Mini, would you get it, or are you still fine with M1?
I don't know. Maybe. Probably.
It's going to be an M2 Mac Mini, though, right? It's an M2.
Yeah,
Mac
I've seen rumors on the
That's
M2.
what I thought.
But
Everyone said that there's an M1 Pro Mac Mini coming, and I'm like, I think that would sell too well. I think Apple knows that.
Oh,
and they would
yeah.
Not release it.
yeah. I mean, I would probably
That
end
would
up getting
be too
one of the
cheap.
Max ones. Like if they had an M1 Mini Max
Mm-hmm.
Pro Plus XDR. I'd probably end up getting one of the Mac Mini Maxes.
XDR, but it has no display, but it's still in the name.
No. The one little status LED light is in XDR. So your one pixel is
the indicator.
XDR. You get extra true blacks
Is
with
it bad that my AirPods Pro are acting up? I do not know if this is a firmware problem or a hardware problem, but is it bad that I am really, really tempted to get AirPods Max?
Dude.
Still? And
This is
'cause Randy was the one on the show telling me you got to stand by your principles. You can't give in. You got to draw the line somewhere.
Oh, did I?
And
Oh, don't listen
I
to
feel
him.
like I'm giving in. Don't. I legitimately was thinking in my head, I want to buy. I kind of want to buy these and just accept that the lightning cable is going to be in my life, unfortunately,
It will.
and stay with this abusive relationship.
Yep.
But then I was thinking, Randy told me you can't give in. Randy said you can't let them get away with this, and
That's right.
but now you're saying otherwise.
Oh,
so
well, no. Let me
you're giving the
rephrase what I want to say today.
No, there's too much. Let me sum up.
Get Apple on the line. Have you had your AirPods Pro replaced?
Well, one of them and the case. So there's one pod that is from the original pair, but most of it is replaced.
Yeah.
But that was over a year ago. That
Get in
was like
contact with them and say, "Hey, this is a problem," and I spent over $200. That's it. This is a problem. I got a hissing something, and I spent a lot of money on this. And they'll be like, "Yep, let's take it to a close store or retailer and let them send it to us and do that whole thing, and maybe you'll get brand new AirPods like me." And then I'll be like, "Yeah, don't get the Max." But
It's out of warranty though, right?
well,
Would they do that?
you still got one original piece that predates 2019, right? Or the October 2019?
Well, I got one original piece that I received in October of 19.
That still counts.
Really? I thought after 1 year that it was like, oh, you're on.
Nah,
your own.
man. When I got my thing replaced, it's because it was part of the original the original batch that was defective.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I wonder if I don't know. AirPods Pro 2 might have some things going for them. If better battery life is probably the best thing you could upsell me on, because I know that the cycles are going to age so poorly. That's actually one of the reasons I'm so tempted to get AirPods Max, because I feel like if the battery's 20 hours, I could own it for 5-6 years and it would still probably be fine. Get through a show.
Stand by your principles, Drew. Stand by them.
Cave in. Cave in,
now
Drew.
you're saying don't cave in?
Cave in.
Well,
Cave
okay,
in.
there's two. I know where I was when I told you all that in my head because I know you so well. If you have no intention of genuinely updating an accessory like AirPods Max, you'll get years worth out of it, but you have to, you have to commit to that. Otherwise, you're gonna be you're throwing money down the drain here by just holding on to it for like a year or two, because it's not gonna resell well. You have to accept that it's not gonna sell well at all. And
no, I can tell because I'm in the used market and it's all very low.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm also in the used market. I mean, I'm looking at one right now.
What have you found?
$387. And I'm like,
that's not bad. There's something that's scaring me though. Actually, I've discovered.
well, what?
There are AirPods Max clones.
Yeah.
And they are spooky similar.
Yeah.
Like, I found some videos comparing the two, and they're from, some Chinese company that borrows Apple's factory on the weekends. And there's people selling them for $200, and when you're on the web page looking at pictures, you cannot tell. Like, it looks so dang similar. They have the same packaging, and I'm worried that I'm going to look at some used one and find out, oh, this is a clone. I got scammed. So
this was on Amazon's website as a renewed product. So
that's probably legit.
It is legit.
And you have a return policy.
Yeah.
Wait, that means I can get it. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
$387.
What
and
color
that's for
are
black
they?
ones, and there's some for $396 for white ones.
Does it have the condition? If you're listening to this, don't buy them. Jerks. They're gonna go out and buy them. What does Amazon renewed mean?
Basically, it's a returned product.
Oh, it could be my pair.
Yep.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it's
It
not
could be
refurbished. It's just like that's what happens.
What if it's
to the
returned
returned
because
product.
they got scammed?
That is a possibility, and you take the risk. But you can still return a renewed product.
So they just keep sending it.
Yeah,
and then
because
sending
this
it
is
back.
not from reading it. This is not from Apple. This
No,
is just a renewed store. I don't know, man.
Interesting.
The price, though, you
I mean,
cannot.
there's a re-
Well, it has a
this
return
is
Yeah,
the
there's a
price
return
point that we
policy.
wanted the
Scenario.
Max at. Remember, like we were like, oh, if it was under $400, it would be like palatable, and it's like
Yeah, you're right.
$380 is definitely under $400.
That's still a big, to me, that's still an expensive
It
pair
is,
of headphones.
but it's
That's
not
why
a crazy expensive pair. $380 is like, all right, that is
Yeah.
an expensive pair of headphones.
on par
but it's,
with other pair
I
of...
mean, it's $162 cheaper than buying it new from Apple. And it's like, dang, that's
That's ridiculous. I keep forgetting how expensive they are because I keep looking at used prices.
Mm-hmm.
Drew,
I forget that it's $550, and I'm like, my god.
Drew, I tell you this with all confidence and love in my heart as my friend. If you don't buy this, I probably will.
I'm about to buy it. It's gonna be a race.
All right.
Well, one of us on the show, man.
Well, so much. Yeah.
Is there
I
other
mean,
codes?
I tell you that I will defer. I'm not in a hurry anymore with the AirPods Pro being refreshed. After my whole issue, I'm not in a hurry. But I did say if I saw something under 400, I wouldn't hesitate. And I'm like, ooh, and it's black. That would have been the one I wanted. So.
Yeah, everyone wants the black pair.
Yeah.
Or actually, no one wants it because the prices for green are the highest. That makes no
Now I
sense.
regret
makes no
sending you
sense to
guys this link because there's only one available.
I know.
Which link?
The link I sent
he
you.
sent a link.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm already looking at it. I'm on the.
Hey, if I order right now, I'll
I'm
get
just
it. I'll get
comparing
it by
the
my
color
birthday.
options.
If I order it right now.
Oh my god, that's coming up.
I totally knew that.
Yeah, shut up.
We have a list. We have a list we keep track of in the notes app of just everyone's birthday.
The notes. I just have a
'Cause they-
calendar.
Because
I
they
built
changed
out your
it.
guys' profiles in my contacts. I built out your profiles so that way.
Oh,
Yeah.
My
We have a
profile?
bunch of people that don't have their birthdays on their Facebook or whatever, so we just write it down.
Yeah.
Actually, know a lot of people not on Facebook now.
Yeah, I'm not on
hardly
Facebook.
anyone there anymore.
Yeah.
No one is except Randy. Um, it's just
'Cause he's
Randy
a
and
boomer.
Zuckerberg. Those two are just poking each other over there.
Well, Randy's still on MySpace, so.
Did you guys know Facebook had the first NFTs with the like birthday cakes? Do you remember that?
No.
No.
You could like in the old days of Facebook, back in like 2008, 2009, you could like buy people things with real money and then send it to them and they can't do anything with it. They're just like, buy so and so a birthday cake, and you'd get a notification that says so and so bought you a birthday cake. Like that was a feature. You couldn't if you checked your Facebook inventory, you have a birthday cake. And I was like, that was NFTs. They had NFTs.
Wow.
They
Oh, can I
figured it out.
resell my birthday card for a greater profit? Because that's all
I
there
wonder
is
if they
to
still
it.
have those, or did they just one day it was all just dissolved from people's inventory?
They ran out.
What happened to my birthday?
They sold out. They
There was a
Google it.
finite amount.
I Google the Twitter birthday anniversary thing of how long they have it, and I'll just get the latest one of that year and I'll be like, yeah, I've been on Twitter for 15 years or whatever it's at, and prove me wrong. But I would say, going back to the headphone thing there, Drew, I think
Oh yeah.
I would first, before considering the AirPods Max as a whole, just see if they will service your AirPods Pro for free because you have an original part still. Because if you do that and they just give you a brand new everything, the way, like, I only have one wrong with mine and they gave me a clean set.
Yeah.
If they do that for you, dude,
Would it have MagSafe?
they did not
Probably
replace my case because I didn't have an issue with my case. But that was also
They replaced both.
But that
pods.
was also before the updated. You know what? You might, because that was before they even updated. There was.
Oh, I'd be so happy if that happens.
It's possible. I wouldn't hold my breath for it, but that wasn't a thing when I had mine serviced last year. That wasn't out yet. So, yeah, if you could get yours fixed for free, I'd 10 out of 10 do that and stick it to Apple. But
Okay.
if they say sorry, we can't do it, even for the original piece, I don't see that happening. But if they say that, then buy through Amazon. You're still not giving Apple your money, so
We're not voting with our wallets, or we are voting with our wallets. But okay, fine, I'll buy some Amazon thing because they're all AirPods are always cheaper on Amazon, like at any given time.
yeah.
I don't know how they do that.
Yeah.
AirPods 3 are going for $170. I think that's how they normally are. But AirPods Pro are like $150. Yeah. I hate the case, I hate the charging method, but
I know.
here's the reality. Here's what pushed me to start to accept Lightning is my wife has the iPhone SE. She loves the pop socket on the back, so she can't use wireless charging. So, and she also has a first generation pair of AirPods that do not have wireless charging. So whenever we travel, whenever we go on a trip, also her iPad is Lightning. We always have to pack a Lightning cable anyway. She always has a Lightning cable by our bed because she needs to
MagSafe
charge her
Duo
phone.
also requires Lightning.
It does, but I don't want to have to unplug Duo to charge my headphones because that means now my phone and watch can't charge, but my headphones need to. Yes, you're right. They do have Lightning. I do have a Lightning cable around for when I need to charge my mouse and keyboard. I still hate that, but it's like if Apple's not budging on this, I might be hurting myself more by not getting AirPods Max.
Yeah.
Just by trying to do everything with the little buds, because if I keep buying those and then they go bad and then I gotta buy a new pair and then they go bad and yeah, it's
I hear you.
there's no
It's not
ideal
worth
solution.
It's not worth the time you have to put playing musical chairs with your AirPods Pro. That
I know I'm doing it right now.
yeah. And if you're
So-
out of warranty anyway and you have to get something to replace it, you might as well get something that gives you the longest battery, the best transparency I have ever heard. That I mean, I stand by when Nick and I were checking out the thing, like, it's phenomenal. It's the price that made me like, my principal said I couldn't do it, but now we're seeing, as you know, we're verifying now it's under 400. I would 10 out of 10 get AirPods Max over any other over-ear, Sony, Bose, you name it. I'll do that and happily do that because that's the same price you're paying. And I said 400 because like the additional $50 you would get just for having the Apple ecosystem and the tech and everything's communicating to me is worth that type of price. But if it's 380, say less. Let's go. That's crazy. That's crazy money right there. And even if it's renewed, okay, so it's open and return. That means it's under that 14-day whatever window anyway. So you're not. It could be a review unit for somebody, and they're like, all right, it's not for me, and they return it. So. And if you're getting scammed, at least you have the policy with Amazon, and they'll give you your money back, and you didn't lose anything out of that situation. So.
Sorry, what'd you say?
Yeah, so my thing right now, and if any avid watcher of the show will notice I've been using the second gen AirPods for over 2 weeks now, and I do have some thoughts. It's because
over 2 weeks.
It's because I misplaced my left AirPod Pro in the dunes about 2 weeks ago. It was during full stack. I hadn't slept.
You just like gently
set it down in the dunes.
Oops.
Yes. Yeah. I was operating on like 3 days without sleep, and I don't know what happened to it. I know I was wearing both of them at one point, and then later in the day I could only find one. So they're gone. And so I've just been using the second gen ones, and it's like, do I want to spend whatever it is, $90, $120 or whatever to get another correct bud from Apple? Or do I just want to get like AirPods Max? Because I feel like I would wear AirPods Max just as frequently, you know. Like I think I'd rather have AirPods Max, to be honest, you know.
Is there a particular reason you like having one pod in, or is it just so that you can swap batteries?
It's just so I can swap batteries.
Have it last longer. Okay.
I'm rocking both.
Because I was gonna say, that's. Oh boy, now it's making the noises at me. Yeah. Did this not charge? I swear to God. Ugh. What were you doing this whole time? Also, why is this beeping? It has 50%.
See, too bad you didn't have an
good thing we
AirPods
got
Max when you could just plug in with a lightning
left.
cable.
My question, because that's a use case of AirPods Max you won't have. You'll have to put on
both.
I mean, I guess you could leave one off, but
yeah.
Doesn't really.
Well, and I'd still have the one
advantage.
AirPod Pro and my AirPods 2, you know. So it's not like I'd be completely without stuff. But I'm like, yeah, I might as well just get.
I don't like the
Max.
swapping of the two, to be honest with you. I found ever since I got the AirPods Pro update, or they sent me the new ones, I will purposely drain them both at the same time because I feel like what contributed to killing my battery so quickly was that uneven charging cycle that it was going through. And at this point,
well, you kind of can't stop it though when you're.
I have but I keep
call.
transparency on, so I am using more than just audio being put in. It's working more stuff behind the thing. You're right. The audio's only going to choose the one mic, but outside of my mic, I have transparency or ANC happening at all times, and that.
I think most would.
I want them to deplete equally as much as possible. The only time the mic is doing its thing is when we're doing this thing. But outside of this, I'm not using the mic. I'm listening.
I wish the software could account for that. I wish it could. It counts how long its mic is being used on one pod and then compensates it by using the other mic and then goes back and forth so that the cycles could be.
Oh aligned. Yeah.
Just use the Cycles app on
That's AirPods Pro 2 or 3 or whatever the new one would be. That's the next one, I would say.
Pro 2
with
with the lossless playback. That's the other thing is AirPods Max are very old and they have not been upgraded.
Yeah.
And it does feel weird spending that kind of money on something that's kind of old. especially if AirPods Pro 2 come out later this year and
Yep.
they have something that AirPods Max don't. But fundamentally, they'll still be tiny batteries, so
Yeah,
they're not going to age as well.
you can't. A
But
battery's a battery.
Go ahead. I had a since people know us for Apple. I had one Apple Silicon timeline question I thought of, since we might be looking at an event in a couple weeks.
Okay.
So my prediction, we can hear your guys' as well, but my prediction is it's just, of course, the 5G iPhone SE, which is the worst iPhone SE ever because of the battery life, and the iPad Air 5, which is called catch up because it just is adding things that the iPad mini already has, nothing new. And the third thing that's probably the most interesting is going to be, at least according to Mac Rumors source, the M2 chip in the MacBook Pro with the Touch Bar. So no design changes, but the new chip comes out. Do you think, if that ends up being correct, that from that point on, we're only going to get M2 branded stuff, or is there going to be an M1 Pro and M1 Max and an iMac Pro later, or if they introduce M2, that means all silicon moving forward is going to be either M2 or M2 Pro or M2 Max? Like, are we done with the M1 era potentially?
Base level, yeah. But I think the Pro level stuff, I don't think the M2 chip is going to be competing with the M1 Pro or the M1 Max chip on any level.
No.
So
No, definitely.
I would say that they'd still be completely safe to release new M1 Pro and M1 Max chips. You know, I think we pretty much guaranteed at this point we're going to get some new, at least M1 Max chips, because they have the die interconnect threads on them. Those teardown people found that like they're literally the ones that have been shipped already are designed to just plug and play with like extra dies, so they can stick two of them together basically. So we're pretty much guaranteed to see some more M1 Max chips that float
You
around.
think they
at some
could
point.
just call that M2 Pro,
No,
M2 Max?
No, they'd want to
No.
make a big deal about the fact that this is the first time with our neural threads and our mesh connections that we can have multiple dies connected on one ARM processor, and it's just they're gonna want to talk about that. Tim, this is how Tim's gonna introduce you. He's gonna be like, so. You know how great the M1 Pro chip is and how much better the M1 Max chip is. What if we made a computer with two of them? And here it is.
They got to go down, right? They got to go to the big ceiling
Yep.
white room. It's all cement.
Yep.
That totally exists, I'm sure.
Totally is not a studio in Los Angeles somewhere.
They're probably filming it like The Mandalorian or Boba
Yeah.
Fett, where it's just a,
Just a big screen.
projector box. They're just pasting people in
Wouldn't be surprised.
Boba Fett.
like a bantha.
What do you think, Randy? Are we getting more M1 Pro stuff?
I don't think we're gonna get any more M1 anything.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
Really?
because
Okay.
I know you said that
So you think it's all M2 from here on out?
what Nick was saying about it's like all but guaranteed. I mean, you can make it work, but we have an M1 iPad Pro, and it means absolutely crap. It means nothing, and it doesn't, just because the hardware's there. Wasn't there like even a thing that they're saying like, oh, iPhone 12 Pro or whatever was capable of reverse charging if they wanted to and hit the switch. Just because it's there doesn't mean it's going to happen. I think marketing wise,
I forgot about that.
yeah, and marketing wise, we're in 2022. M2, it just, you don't want nothing with the number 1 on it. You're moving forward, and it's just going to look like a cleaner marketing campaign for this year's Mac line going forward. Everything is 2. Does it mean that it's going to outperform M1 Pro or M1 Max? No. Or M1 anything like I don't
No, I don't think anyone's expecting it to.
Yeah. But
at least I hope
the
not.
same reason they're going to make MacBook Airs look colorful now to just have something to distinguish itself with it. It's good marketing. They don't always make the right decisions because of its capabilities. Again, iPad, but Apple has never failed in the marketing department, and this would be good marketing for them to showcase the continuation, the second generation of their silicon chips, and M2 is the proper way to kick off this next this next gen as a whole. But us, the tech nerds and all, will understand that the Pro and Max variant of M1 are still refined. But for you lovely MacBook Airs waiting to get that, you say you love the touch bar. We have here's now M2 with all of its colors, and for our Pro users with the touch bar, where there's still a use case, they'll sell it that way, and they'll be more proud of that situation than, saying we're not done stretching the M1 chip as good as we can. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Those are his thoughts.
Sorry for the echo there. My AirPods 2 died in the middle of your thought, and I switched to AirPods Pro, and the low frequency sound is gone.
Oh, that's
So,
good.
I guess that fixed it.
Tell you what, Drew, I'll buy the AirPods Max. Have them on standby. If you end up wanting them, I'll sell them to you for the exact same price, and I'll just give them to you. Because I don't think they're going to be around much
And
longer.
I get to wear headphones graced by Randy's scalp.
Definitely.
He wrote the one of the whatever. Yeah.
He wrote that thing that you heard.
No, I'm saying in the sense that if your AirPods Pro are working right now, then get the AirPods Max. And if they end up going to crap again, like, oh, I wish I had those AirPods, I'd be like, yeah, they're the real deal. There you go.
I definitely, my interest in the Maxes spike every time I take a flight. And I've taken 8 flights this year.
Dude.
Already.
I feel
It's
you.
been
Yes.
every time I'm on the plane and the rubber seals just have been sitting there after a while, and I just take them out and I'm like, ah.
Dude.
And I never got that with the Maxes.
The foam
It's
tips are a godsend. I loved my flight, but it is
That's the
not
other thing.
as good as the over ears were doing. I put ANC and I can still
Really?
hear. And in front of you, we have our drink services. If you would like to pick up, I'm like, okay, I can still hear it, but the foam tip, dude, everyone, this is life advice. Any in here you get, go to Amazon and get a foam tip that goes with it, because I love wearing them. They don't feel like they're in my ear. I have transparency on, so I can gauge how loud I'm talking and everything. But it's so comfortable. It's almost perfect.
You can take that as investment.
I am telling you what to do, ladies and gentlemen, and you can take that as investment advice. It is. It's a good
Anytime
investment.
Randy says to buy something,
It's a good
we just
investment.
play that clip.
Yep.
And that.
Yep. It's good investment advice. I promise.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish we were getting something about upgraded AirPods Maxes at some point in the year. Then I would feel like, okay, they might address some of these things. But no, nothing really.
It's
We
not
just
coming.
Might get rid of the digital crown at some point, which is like, well,
Worse.
That doesn't. fix
That's
anything.
worse.
That's the worst. I would still buy the first gens even if those came out.
Yeah.
So, do you think, does this mean AirPods Maxes are very much exactly the same as like the first HomePod?
Oh yeah.
They, like, they
I think
do
we talked
one,
about this last week.
and then they
Yeah,
just
they're not.
they just
They're
gave
just
up.
gonna give up.
Yeah.
That's sad. They're just gonna
Yep.
give up.
Huh. Well, I guess I'll have both then. I still have a HomePod on my desk here.
You have a you
not
have
been
you'll have a
plugged in.
bunch of great legacy hardware that will be part of your inevitable museum, because you have, an iMac, a Macintosh. Like you can build your own like discontinued line.
I have the iMac Pro and the HomePod. On the same
iMac
desk.
Pro, HomePod, the keyboard itself that is now
Yeah,
discontinued.
the keyboard and mouse. They're space gray.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's great.
Another page of George Lucas's book entitled "What Could Have Been Great."
What could have been great. Starting with episode 2.
Starting with like a panther. But do we have final thoughts?
Final
before we wrap
thoughts. Apple.
They're like really bad. No, I'm doing a George Lucas thing. He's like the Emperor of the Universe. He's like
like-
really bad.
Like really bad. Like really bad.
He's like,
Wow.
he's like really evil. Thanks, George Lucas. I swear, sometimes I think George Lucas accidentally created Star Wars. Like,
He did. Oh, he absolutely did. If you watch a little documentary on the editing of the first movie,
I did.
It was a complete accident.
It was a complete.
It all.
It was called something like
It all
"Saved on the
felt-
Cutting Room Floor" or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen that.
the editor was like, "You just need to cut out all this crap," and that was if that editor wasn't there, that would not be a thing today.
Oh my
Absolutely.
goodness.
And some would argue that would be a good thing.
And,
No, I disagree.
no, we've gotten. I'm just in Star Wars for the memes. I have not watched a single episode of Boba Fett, and I have no intention on it. But I have seen so many memes and clips and jokes from the show on YouTube, and they're all like 30-second videos.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just for the memes. It was worth it. It was all worth it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good closing thoughts. Had nothing to do with tech. I
Yes.
love it.
Thank you for joining us for the Taylor Swift Movie Reviews podcast.
In a podcast far, far away.
I love it.
Take care, all.
See you guys. Bye.